What is going on, guys? Today we are back with another video. It is a beautiful late summer day. It is nice and cool out. You can tell fall is on the way. And today we are doing one of my absolute favorite ways to fish. We're gonna be speed jigging walleyes. Now, what is speed jigging? I've done videos on this in the past. It's basically fishing these incredibly heavy snap aggression, heavy lures in deep water. This is the Acme Hyper Rattle, and it's an absolute fish killer when fish get out here in the summer. Really any time of year when they're positioned on deeper structure, right? And basically we're gonna be fishing this incredibly aggressive. We're gonna be going hunting big pods of fish all day today. But what I really wanted to do this video is to highlight how effective this is. And you know, if you're struggling with this, if you haven't tried this style of fishing before, really from now until turnover is the bread and butter season for doing this, right? These fish will be relating to deeper structure from now until turnover, which a lot of places like early mid-October. When these fish are in deeper water and they start getting balled up on deep rock, deep sand, deep gravel, snapping something like Acme Hyper Rattle around is absolute killer. So we're gonna go into basically what we're looking for on the graph. We're gonna be talking about how I'm fishing this bait, because this is the #1 question we get asked on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, is all about basically the specifics on working this lure. And whenever I do a video doing this, you guys normally love it because it's so different than probably what most of walleye fishing is. It's an incredibly fun way to fish. So that's what we're talking about today, how to fish Acme Hyper Rattle and these speed jigging lures in deep water for summer, late summer, into fall walleyes. Stay tuned, we're gonna catch some fish today. It's gonna be fun. All right, spot number 1. We got the big Hyper Rattle tied on. And a lot of times this is kind of like a lot of spot checking where you're just kind of cruising around. You know, you might catch 2 fish here, might kind of bust a school, might have to go find another school. But basically what happens is kind of when you're going spot to spot all day, you get a really good idea of where fish are. And a lot of times this is just an incredibly fast way to catch them, as I'm sure you will see here shortly. Just got to get right on the sweet spot here where they are normally sitting on about a 24-foot flat out here that's just got a little gravel lip in it. All right, this is looking promising. So I'm dropping down right here. Just kick the boat in reverse real quick so I'm stalled out. Down to bottom, and just like that, that is unbelievably fast. I couldn't even snap that bait one time, and we already have a walleye on. He's only about, I don't know, 15-incher here. But that was, oh, and he flipped off at the boat. Well, that was incredibly fast. I still got a pod down there, so I'm just gonna drop down again. They kind of skirted around me. This might not happen for me on this one. That is just so crazy how fast it often happens. And here we go. 2 walleyes in 1 minute of fishing. Here's about a 15-incher. Not a big fish, but you can see just how quick that is. I absolutely hate boat flipping fish on these things, just because I have been hooked many times with that bait kind of flying back at you. Because a lot of times these fish are hooked all funky doing this, but there we go. Little eater to start. Nothing impressive yet. Oh, we're kind of spot locked now right around these fish, and all I'm gonna do is just kind of make some pitches backwards and around, and if I see them on side imaging, I'll cast over there. A lot of times if you can cast, you know, it kind of adds another dimension. Not only is the bait just going up and down, you know, it's also kind of tracking one direction. Whenever you can get a bait that kind of does a few of those things, it's always a good thing. That was first cast, so we'll take that all day long like this. This video is going to be done in 5 minutes. Oh yeah, nice walleye here. Whoa, and he's all squirrely, he's all squirrely. So quick and so effective. Come here, buddy. Oh yeah, there we go. Nice eater there. Had we not lost that one at the boat, we would have been technically our 3-fish Wisconsin limit in about 3 minutes of fishing. Can't beat that. That little black and silver Hyper Rattle. stuck right to his chin. And look at that. Speed jigging, unbelievably effective, unbelievably fun. Let's let him go. And this bite is just, whoa, getting cranking this time of year. And it's gonna be absolutely wild like this, really from now until turnovers. A lot of times kind of when I see it start to slow down. But from now until that October time frame, we are going to be doing a lot of this. So all right, you can basically see kind of how I'm working this bait, but it's really the specifics that put more fish in the boat, right? And there's two ways you kind of fish this bait. One's a short pitch cast, like if you're spot locked or there's just kind of fish all around scad and you're pitching it out and working it back. So we'll kind of show you that one first. Both ways are obviously similar and you're trying to achieve the same thing. So I'm pitching the bait out there. Now this is not a bait, although you could make a cast that'll be a mile long, because this thing weighs an ounce. But you don't want to make a super far cast. So basically we're getting it out there. Snap, snap, slack line. Incredibly important for slack line. Snap, I'll kind of mix up single and doubles. Snap, slack line. Snap, snap, pick up a little bit of line. Snap, snap, let it hit bottom. The one thing you're seeing me do is I'm letting this hit bottom on a slack line. I want this bait going doo doo, boom, right down to bottom, right? I don't want anything slow to be happening with this bait. Now on a normal jig, if you go like snap, snap, hold your rod high, what's happening is that bait's going snap, snap real fast and then it's doing this slower glide to bottom. I like this bait when it falls incredibly quick, and the fact that it weighs an ounce is what, it's what makes this bait special, is that it's heavy and it's fast. Everything about it, it's fast. The fall is fast, the snaps are fast. It's very much a reaction bite. And you can kind of mix in 1 pop, 2 pops. Sometimes if you got fish that are just way up in the water column, like let's say you're fishing 29 feet of water and those fish are down like, I don't know, 24 feet. One thing you can do is you can take it and just do several snaps and get that bait to get up real high. And then a lot of times what you'll see is those fish streak down after it. And a lot of times when you're dropping in pods of fish, like if you drop it right over the side of the boat, which we'll kind of show you next, what you'll see on the graph is you'll drop, and as you can see your bait on sonar go down, what you'll also see is those fish go down after it to the bottom. Now when you're fishing this bait vertically, same kind of thing applies, right? Drop it down, and basically what I'm doing is big pop and I'm dropping my rod. Big pop, dropping my rod. The other thing to note is that I'm hitting this bait on a slack line, right? It's kind of like working a bass jerk bait, right? Guys who are good at working bass jerk baits are always snapping that thing on a slack line. And the same thing applies. You get a lot more erratic action when you snap a bait on a slack line, because it's just kind of a who knows which direction that thing's gonna go. If you get a tight line and pull, all that bait's doing is just going up and down, right? We want this thing fast and erratic, right? So I'm going pop, pop, drop my rod. Pop, pop, drop my rod. Same thing as casting. Sometimes I'll mix in just that 1 pop, drop my rod. Pop, pop, drop my rod. You can tell when guys are doing this wrong because it looks more like this, right? I like doing something that looks like this. That quick wrist snap, down, right? So that's kind of how I'm working the bait. Now, when you're working a bait that fishes this fast, one thing you'll notice is that the fish tend to pin it to bottom, right? There's so little hang time that most of those fish, what's gonna happen is you'll go to snap again and they're just gonna be on there, pinned to it already, right? They scoop it up off the bottom, or a lot of times they'll nudge into it real hard just to eat that thing right off the bottom. And when you go to snap again, you'll get them like just right under the chin right there, right under the mouth. So that's kind of how I'm fishing that bait. And yeah, it obviously works incredibly well. All right, spot number 2. One good tip is if the spot you're fishing solid rock, what you're gonna wanna do is pretty much run sonar and down imaging. It gives you 2 different looks at the same thing. Gives you a better idea of exactly how many fish you're dropping into, and if they're tight to rock, you can see them better. Although I always like running sonar just so I can see those big red stacks. Now if you're fishing sand, rock, kind of a mixture of stuff, I would prefer to run side imaging and sonar, or side imaging and down imaging. Gives you a little better idea of how, if there's fish off the side, you can see them a little bit better. So kind of keep those few things in mind if you're going to be coming out here and doing this. And we are on the hunt for fish right now. And right there is what I like to see. Oh yes, oh yeah. I don't think this is going to be a terribly long wait to catch one. They're hunting it, they're looking at it. at that, right there. Got him on, feels like a good one. Just kick the boat in neutral. Too much fun. Driving around, marking stacks of fish. I think we got a halfway decent one on here. Oh yeah, nice fish, right in the mouth. And look at that, too much fun. I don't know if I could do enough videos on this to just kind of show you how good it is. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing overkill when I just constantly post videos of this, but it is unbelievably effective. And you guys, there's no other presentation that you can drop down and in this short of a time catch fish like this. It's just crazy when they're on it, how cool and how effective this style of fishing is. There's about a 18-incher there. Awesome. That little, basically just your chrome with a black back color is what I'm fishing today. And they're about it. But honestly, color is not a huge deal with these things. Just because that bait's shooting around, flying around, doesn't give them a long time to think. It's a pure reactional bite. Oh yeah, right there. Oh yes, that is where we want to be. That is a good pot of them. This shouldn't take too long. They're just like that. Hook up. So incredibly effective. Now, one thing I will say is that when you're fighting walleyes on these, be easy on them. I got mono on right now, which definitely helps a little bit. But take your time. You can fish a little bit stiffer rod with mono, just to get a little extra snap in it. But just take your time. And boat flipping is pretty much a permanent no-no. Oh yeah, there's a nice one right there, and we got him. You guys see how effective this is. Drive around, find fish, drop in them, snap that rod a few times, fish on. And if you don't have a lot of confidence fishing this way, this is the perfect time of year to start doing this. Hey, look at that walleye. He is a perfect Northwoods fish. Look at that, spunky, about 20-incher. Awesome, too much fun. Whenever I have buddies in the boat who've never done this, we come out and do it. They're always just blown away by how effective it is. We get more YouTube questions on this. We get more, email questions about this than anything else. So productive, so fun, and it just flat out catches fish wherever you go. Now, the rigging portion of this is extremely important to the success you're gonna have with this bait as well. What we don't want for sure is a super heavy, super stout rod. And the reason for that is you're gonna pull a lot of hooks out of fish. That's the main reason for that. Now, there's two different rods I use for doing this. One of them is a 6'9" medium fast. And the reason I like this rod, well, basically whenever I use this rod and I'm fishing this lure, I'm using mono. This is a little bit stiffer rod, right? Now, what's the benefit of using mono? Mono basically holds that fish on, I think, a little bit better than braid. I think if you're dealing with losing a lot of fish doing this, try switching to mono, and I think you're gonna be a little bit happier. The other thing you get with mono is you get much less tip wrap. If you're doing this presentation a lot, and one thing that keeps happening to you is you keep wrapping your line around the tip of the rod, try going to mono and it should happen for you a lot less, right? And I'm fishing 12-pound mono, and like I said, this is a little bit stiffer rod than the other rod I like to fish, and the reason for that is because I have mono on there. It takes a lot more snap with a 1-ounce lure to get that bait to dart with mono than it would with braid. So the other rod I fish, there's actually a different lure tied on here right now, a snap jig lure, but the other rod I fish a lot is this 7.3 medium light. Think about your medium lights, and this one has braid on it, right? And I constantly go back and forth with what I like more, but both rods work. But if you are gonna fish braid, you wanna go to a softer rod. It's probably something medium light, because you can see how hard I'm snapping this with mono. With braid, you don't have to work it quite this hard, and that's because that line obviously has no stretch. But for fighting fish, you want a rod that's gonna load up a lot more if you're gonna use braid doing this, and you'll hold on to a lot more fish. It's kind of like working a bass jerkbait, and the fact that a lot of guys who are doing this are using mono or fluoro, something that has some sponge to it. And that's so when you hook that fish, that line naturally flexes to hold that fish on the hook. Braid's much more instantaneous, obviously has zero flex. So if you're gonna do this with braid, you need to play it of, you know, to hold those fish on, to be in the rod of the bait, or in the rod you're fishing with, right? Now, as far as, you know, the terminal side of this, I don't run a swivel on here. You can run a swivel on here. It doesn't really matter too much. Line twists are not a serious issue with these, but basically you're gonna wanna run a snap on here, and I always put it on the front pin. It just balances out very well. And yeah, this is the biggest Acme hyper rattle they make. I believe it's almost an ounce. And some of my favorite colors for sure. That one gets the nod anywhere water's clear. They make a purple one, which is really good. And I always say color is not a huge deal with these because they're moving so fast. But these are kind of my confidence colors. And then if I'm fishing a little bit dirtier water, I'll go to that clown color right there. But I don't think color plays a huge deal in basically, you know, how many fish you're gonna catch, just because it is such an aggressive way to fish that these fish are not too concerned about color. They're more intrigued by the speed and the action of the bait. Actually, we're coming over another little pod here. I might just re-drop again. Right tight to bottom here. Right there, just like that. Always making sure you're in fish. Always making sure every time you drop, they're right there. And if you don't get bit right away, reel back up and kind of maneuver around and find that pod, because these baits, these very aggressive style lures will push fish around, especially if you're just fishing like one good stack of fish on a spot. What you'll see happen a lot is you know, you might spend a little bit jigging in those fish. There's a little 15-incher there. We're on the numbers pod here, and they might just kind of push away from you. All right, well, that is gonna kind of do it for today's video. Just a quick little, I don't know, I think we were out here for like an hour total. Most of it was driving around, not looking at fish, but whenever we found fish, we caught fish. And if you guys have not tried this style of fishing, now is the time. Pick yourself up some hyper rattles, go out, look at some of these deep humps, a lot of this 20-foot stuff, 30-foot stuff in that ballpark, and you're gonna be on fish and probably catching them very quickly. But yeah, I just really wanted to get this video out here because it's an incredibly productive way to fish for the next month or so. So give it a try. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching. Hopefully this answered some of your guys' questions on fishing this lure. And it's just an incredibly effective way to fish, and you're definitely gonna see us doing this a lot more. So appreciate you guys watching. If you're not yet, please subscribe. I'm gonna go try to catch a muskie this afternoon. We'll see you guys next time.